It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of April 9th, 2004. 5 films to look at today. We've got a sandwich of comedies. We've got a sandwich with 2 comedies as the bread, and then some movies that were not as successful. Actually, most of these movies were not really successful, but that doesn't mean most of them were bad. Actually, kind of looking at the list here, most of these movies are pretty bad, except for one. And it's not the one you'd probably think it would be, but let's go ahead and get right to it, and I'll show you what I mean. It was an interesting weekend in general because, it was Easter weekend, which probably explains why some of these movies didn't do very well, because you don't release these type of movies on Easter weekend, and Jesus Christ literally led the weekend because Mel Gibson's The Passion of the Christ actually rose back up, quite literally, like the way Jesus was resurrected in the Bible, up to the #1 spot again, and actually gained more money during that weekend. But then again, it's Easter weekend; it's not really that shocking. But here were the 5 films that were trying to compete with that, along with Hellboy, which is at #2 here. The biggest of the new releases, by about $300,000, which is going to be hilarious when I get to the next movie, is Cedric the Entertainer in the comedy Johnson Family Vacation. No joke, this is actually the first movie that Jason Momoa ever starred in, and of course, it would take him a while before he became the Jason Momoa that we know him as today, and if you watch him, especially in that trailer, certainly looks a hell of a lot different. I mean, this is Power Rangers Jason Momoa, not the Aquaman Jason Momoa that we've later known him to become, but this movie can be seen as a number of different things. In fact, when Family Feud had Cake Boss versus Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, guess what movie they referenced with Steve Harvey in it, with the Honey Boo Boo family. This one right here. That's probably the only relevant thing about this particular movie. And in fact, it's kind of weird. 2003 was the year where you had a lot of movies where white people were trying to act black, like Malibu's Most Wanted, Head of State, Marcy X. 2004 apparently was the year where black people decided, okay, we're going to remake some of the great comedies of all time. I mean, this is basically a black remake of National Lampoon's Vacation, and then a couple weeks later, we'll have the black remake of Airplane, which was Soul Plane. Which, needless to say, this is better than Soul Plane, but not by that much. In fact, better is an understatement. This one's at least tolerable. You have the Johnson family, led by Cedric the Entertainer, Vanessa Williams, Bow Wow, and Solange Knowles. They're going on a road trip to attend a family reunion in Missouri and the numerous hijinks that occur along the way. Their idea of hijinks include stuff you've seen done better in National Lampoon's Vacation, including Shannon Elizabeth playing kind of the Christy Brinkley of the movie, except nowhere near as hot as Christy Brinkley was in this. But I mean, she doesn't look too bad in this. But I guess Steve Harvey's the cousin Eddie of this movie. There's a scene that takes place at nighttime in a swimming. Instead of a swimming pool, it's a jacuzzi, because jacuzzis are the real cool way to go swimming at nighttime in the year 2004, apparently. And I think what I'm trying to get at here is that this movie is not funny whatsoever. It is a really lame comedy. At least a movie like RV, which is a complete ripoff of National Lampoon's Vacation, was at least trying and actually did have funny moments in there. That's one of those movies where it's just like, it doesn't look that good on paper, but trust me, after watching Johnson Family Vacation, RV looks like a better vacation movie by comparison. I mean, this is lazy humor. Like, this is not funny whatsoever. For a guy like Cedric the Entertainer, for a guy who has the last name Entertainer, he has never been in anything. None of his movies have been entertaining whatsoever. We're just beginning with the list of bad movies that he's involved in, and this is just not a funny movie. It's just not funny. The family is not really that well put together. You don't really buy into their connection whatsoever. The jokes don't land. The humor isn't really that set up well. The story is bland and mediocre. It's just a lackluster film that has zero effort put into it whatsoever. And it's lazy. It's just lazy humor. It's the type of comedy that just tries to entertain you by ripping off something that's far superior and does this job way better than whatever the hell they're trying to do here. And there's nothing of value to this movie whatsoever. Like, there's not one single laugh in that trailer, and usually that's where you put the best jokes in there. And if that's the best jokes they have in this movie, then that's a bad sign right there. It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie. But yeah, unfortunately, it was a success. It did make money. It was the most successful movie of the weekend, which again isn't really saying a whole lot. And I think it's hilarious that this movie in particular beat out the next movie, which had the bigger budget, the higher ambitions to it, but failed on a number of different levels. And that movie is The Alamo. They're going to need a lot more people to come to this movie, too, but nobody went to see it. And, yeah, as you can tell, this didn't open up on Christmas. This was a film that was pushed back. They basically had to re-edit the movie down. I mean, it was edited down to 3 hours, and later it was reduced to 2 hours. So, basically, the movie was supposed to come out around Christmas time, and then they pushed it back because of the editing. Even the original edit for this movie really would not have added anything to this movie whatsoever. Because, yeah, this film bombed hard. It lost Disney over $140 million. Cost $107 million to make, only bringing back just $25 million total. Nobody wanted to go see this movie. And quite frankly, you can really see why right from the get-go. And the story of this, if you don't know the story of the Alamo, it's basically this. As I'm waiting for the thing to come up, here we go. An historical drama detailing the 1835-36 Texas Revolution before, during, and after the famous siege of the Alamo, which took place in 1836, where 183 Texans and Tejanos, Mexican-born Texans or American-born Texans, commanded by Colonel Travis along with Davy Crockett and Jim Bowie, who were besieged in an abandoned mission outside San Antonio by a Mexican army of nearly 2,000 men under the personal command of the dictator of Mexico, General Santa Anna, as well as detailing the Battle of San Jacinto on April 21st, 1836, where General Sam Houston's ragtag army of Texans took on and defeated Santa Anna's army, which led to the independence of Texas. You find that interesting? Because, yeah, that's the whole movie in general, and it would be, if they hadn't just gotten somebody who had directed Dennis Quaid in The Rookie, which is a much smaller movie, and then given this big budget film, I think with a better director, this probably could have had some value to it. I mean, maybe you got somebody like Peter Weir, like something like what he did with Master and Commander. This is a movie that just really doesn't work for a number of different reasons, and it's a film that, Ron Howard was originally attached to direct this movie, and because there was a lot of creative differences between Ron Howard's company, Imagine Entertainment, and Disney, particularly over Howard's budget. Disney originally rejected the proposal he had, and due to the project not moving forward in time, he stepped down as the director, and he would stay on as the producer, stating in an interview that he wasn't interested in making The Alamo as a PG-13 movie or a PG movie. I didn't get it, I just didn't understand it, whereas I didn't understand it through a different filter. Though an R-rated, very intense, showing sacrifice, showing pain, all those feelings, I didn't understand why you should do it the other way. Like, why not do an R-rated version of this? I mean, I don't know why they thought this would sell as a PG-13 movie. What kid is going to want to go see this movie? And even if you're seeing it for a school assignment, which they did a lot back in the day, Gods and Gentlemen was like that too. You don't want to watch a movie like this. This is a bland, boring movie about an event that should be seen as this big, epic saga. Like, this is the type of movie that Kevin Costner should have made. Because he probably could have made this a lot better, even though, and not do what he's doing right now with Horizon, which is wasting everybody's time with these massive $100 million movies come to think of it, even he probably wouldn't have been able to save this movie in general. Or like, they took a story that is so fascinating about the Alamo and how these guys were able to have these battles before it, and they just completely botched it with a film that is not funny, not even, why am I even saying funny? I'm thinking it's a comedy. No, it's not engaging, it's not epic, it's wasting a lot of talented actors in here. Dennis Quaid, Billy Bob Thornton, Jason Patrick, Patrick Wilson, Jordy Malone, Emily Deschanel, Tom Everett. I mean, just, this is like this is almost equivalent to Heaven's Gate. Like, it's that bad of a movie. The original cut of Heaven's Gate, of course, being the really bad movie, and although later on it did eventually find a following to it. Imagine that, except this one doesn't have a following to it, except the fact that it's an over-budgeted piece of garbage that wastes too much time trying to figure out how many explosions we can put into one movie instead of actually trying to tell an engaging storyline. And this is the biggest problem with the film. It doesn't have a good storyline to tell, even though it has it is inspired by one of the great stories in American history. But they're trying to make it the equivalent of something like Pearl Harbor, and Pearl Harbor was not a good movie, even though it made money. Pearl Harbor was a massive misfire on so many different levels. It's just a terrible movie. It's just one of the worst movies of the year. Another big budget failure for Disney, considering that they just had Home on the Range the week before. It was a bad year for Disney in 2004. It started the year in 2004 because they've already had 4 movies out, and it's 4 notable big movies out, and 3 of them were major flops. The Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen, Home on the Range, and now The Alamo. And we're only 4 months into 2004, but I mean, it will get better eventually. Just not right now, though. But so that is The Alamo. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Anne Hathaway in the family adventure Emily Enchanted. It's Ella Enchanted. So this is based off the book of the same name, and it stars the big breakout star of 2001, Anne Hathaway, and it's written by Karen McCall Lutz and Kirsten Smith, who wrote one of the big breakout hits of 2001, that was Legally Blonde. And in this story, you have a satire of the fairy tale genre, where you have Anne Hathaway as this princess who's been cursed as a baby since she was a baby, and does everything that she can do to fall in love with a young prince who has lived a difficult life. Along the way, she discovers the truth of an event that happened to him in the past that could change everything. So, the film, in a way, is kind of like a mix. It's kind of like trying to be kind of a live-action Shrek, because it is a satire of the fairy tale genre. But, of course, Shrek did it better, and this is a film that has a lot of high ambitions to it. A good cast overall, with Hathaway, Hugh Dancy, Carrie Elways, Vivica A. Fox, Joanna Lumley, Minnie Driver, Eric Idle. A good cast in general, a good idea in general, but just a movie that works better in animation. I mean, they've tried that. Like I said, it's basically trying to be a live-action equivalent to Shrek, but Shrek works because it's written by smart people, it's written by funny people. The movie in general is just a great film, and it just works in animated form. Like, there's a lot of good ideas to this, but just poor execution overall, and a director that just really was not really fit to do this type of a film. It's just a lazy story too. Characters that are not memorable whatsoever. Anne Hathaway's doing the best she can to save whatever dignity is in this movie left, but it's just not enough to save the film in general. It's a really dull movie, which has gone on to surprisingly have a cult following to it. I found out because this wasn't a big hit when it came out either. It was a film that was sort of an underperformer, but it's gone on to have somewhat of a following to it. You hear people talk about it sometimes. Remember fondly, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because I haven't seen it in a while, but to me, I just never really felt like this was a film that was really that great to begin with. It just felt like a film that had a lot of potential to it, had a really good idea to it, but just couldn't really get out of the funk that it was in, unfortunately. At least to me, it wasn't, so yeah, that is Ella Enchanted. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, another big comedy flop, and that was The Whole 10 Yards. That right there is why that movie bombed, because the original was an R-rated movie, and as we've talked about in the past, R-rated movies that have PG-13 sequels or remakes almost never work. Here's another example of that, and wouldn't you know it, from our old pals at Franchise Pictures. Thanks to falsified dental records supplied by his former namer, Oz, played by Matthew Perry again, retired hitman Jimmy the Tulip, played by Bruce Willis, now spends his days compulsively cleaning his house and perfecting his culinary skills with his wife Jill, played by Amanda Peet, a purported assassin who has yet to pull off a clean hit. Suddenly, an uninvited and unwelcome connection to the past unexpectedly shows up on Jimmy and Jill's doorstep. Oz is begging them to help him rescue his wife from the Hungarian mob, his wife played by Natasha Henstridge. To complicate matters even further, the men who are out to get Oz are led by Laszlo Gogolak, played by Kevin Pollak, a childhood rival of Jimmy's and another notorious hitman. Oz, Jimmy, and Jill will need to go the whole 9 yards and then some to manage the mounting mafioso mayhem. And yeah, you could pretty much tell how bad this movie is. I mean, this is a lazy sequel. Like, it's a sequel that's completely unnecessary. And like I said, PG-13 sequel to an R-rated movie. What makes you think that this is going to work again, especially for a film that's trying to bring the families involved in as well? But, like, it got so bad that Matthew Perry wrote in the memoir that the film disappointed reaction in general basically curtailed his film career, and saying that this was the moment that Hollywood decided to no longer invite Mr. Perry to be in movies and sought more dramatic roles afterwards. And he headed back to television too. He had a couple of shows that were actually kind of good, like Mr. Sunshine, criminally underrated show, Go On, and you know, he's made a decent career. He made a decent career in television, and Matthew Perry did seem like a guy that was really on the cusp of becoming a movie star in general, but he just kept picking really, really bad movies, and this is the bottom of the barrel for him. Though I will say, with every negative criticism I've said about this movie, this has one scene in particular that will make me laugh out loud every time I see it. That right there is the single funniest scene in the entire movie, when Bruce Willis is on a drunken stupor and they build this shot glass pyramid, and he goes and he looks at Matthew Perry and just like, what is this thing? It's like, and Matthew Perry's just like, that's the pyramid we've been building for the last 3 hours. And Bruce Willis is just like, get it out of here. Why? Because I hate it. And then he just headbutts himself in there. This movie is absolutely terrible, but that one scene in particular is the only reason I have a physical copy of that movie, so I can watch that scene over and over again. I don't care if it's online. I love that scene, even though it's in a really, really horrible movie. And this is a horrible movie, a terrible sequel that was not worth making it from the beginning. Just a bad, bad movie. A really, really bad comedy. So with that said, you know, we've had a lot of disappointments this week. Let's go ahead and wrap the show up on a positive note. And here's a comedy that I think is criminally underrated. The raunchy comedy, The Girl Next Door. God, I love this movie. This is one of those movies that was not a big hit when it came out. It did very poorly at the box office, but it has gone on to have a cult following to it, and I can easily tell you why, because this movie is pretty... This is the perfect definition of what a good, raunchy, R-rated comedy should be. You have Emile Hirsch playing a high school senior who falls in love for the first time with the girl next door, played by Alicia Cuthbert, but finds the situation becoming complicated as he learns that she is a former pornographic actress. Like, first of all, the perfect male fantasy. I mean, that's every teenager's fantasy right there. To not only have a next-door neighbor looking as hot as Alicia Cuthbert, finding out she's also a porn star too, and it leads into a lot of chaos, including Timothy Olyphant playing her former, or was it her ex-boyfriend, or was it like a person managing her career? Ex-boyfriend, and he was a producer too. Tim Olyphant is really good in the movie. This was the first time I ever saw him in anything, and I thought, man, that guy's a great actor. And of course, he's gone on to become a great actor in Justified, a whole bunch of other great things. Live Free or Die Hard. He's really good as the villain. I even liked him in Hitman, even though Hitman was not a great movie. I thought he was very good in that. Just a fun idea in general, and it's about as raunchy of an R-rated comedy as you can get, and that trailer doesn't even tell you what they have to do at the end. So they basically have this idea that Emile Hirsch and his friends, they decide to go to prom, and they decide to make a porn film on prom night with these strippers that they have there. And, it's a really, really funny scene of what they actually do. They agree to make a porn film on prom night, and they bring in Danielle's former colleagues and Matthew's classmates as actors. And you think they've made a porno movie in general, but what basically happens is that, Timothy Olyphant is trying to get revenge on Emile Hirsch's character because of what he's doing with Alicia Cuthbert, and so Tim Olyphant steals the tape, thinking that they've made a porno movie and showing it to his parents and the principal, and Kelly plays the tape, and they're surprised to find out that the film is actually a modern sexual education movie, and that Matthew and his friends have basically made millions of dollars, and have basically he's become a successful film. His kids have actually become successful filmmakers, and actually Matthew and Daniel actually end up having a relationship together. It's it's so chaotic, but at the same time, it ends on a really fun note that completely it turns it 360 around, and it's just really funny stuff. Like it's a really good movie that I feel like does not get the proper attention that it deserves. The acting overall is great. The comedy is very funny. When it wants to be raunchy, it gets raunchy, and like I miss movies like this, man. I'm glad that we're slowly but surely having a comeback with like No Hard Feelings last year, with movies like this that just say, let's be raunchy for the sake of being raunchy. And like this was one of those last ones that I remember before Judd Apatow, of course, kind of helped resurrected it a little bit with the 40-Year-Old Virgin after a year later. But just it's a really good movie that does not get the proper attention that it deserves. It's a really entertaining film. I really love it. I really enjoy this movie a lot. I think it deserves to get more and more attention as the years go on. It's a really funny movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. The Girl Next Door. Definitely check this one out. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. We'll head into the middle of April next week with the second part of Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill Volume 2, which I would say is where all the best stuff is at. We also have Thomas Jane in The Punisher. And we also have Nina Vardalos' follow-up to My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which is Connie and Carla, which, spoiler alert, did not become the big success that My Big Fat Greek Wedding was, and kind of began the downward spiral for Nia Vardalos. But we'll get to that one on the next episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel. So with that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.